All right, everybody. Welcome to the call this morning on this lovely 24th of April, 2023. We're very fortunate today from the lovely state of Nevada, but originally from Arizona. Ties there too. All right, we have Mr. Chris McGarey. Chris, you have to hit *6 on your phone for us to hear you. *6 and it'll unmute you.
There we go.
There he is. Yes, I can.
Good morning.
And,
Good morning.
And fresh back from the retreat, from the National Sales Convention where you carried home the hardware again for how many years in a row is it now? Is it 14?
It's 14 years in a row.
14 years in a row. You were
Yeah. Every year since we've been back, we've been very lucky and fortunate to be. It's getting a little tougher though. You know, for probably the first 10 years, we were either number one or number two between Jack Woodcock and myself or the guys in New York. And this year we were number 4. Last year we were number 5, I think, but we've always been in the top 5.
Right. For 14 years in a row. That's impressive. I was there too. It was a very awesome little celebration they do every year for you guys. And the food's always wonderful, isn't it?
It is. And you've always been supportive, I think, going all the way back to our Orlando days. So we appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure, my man. I wouldn't miss it. I think there was one year I showed up and it had just finished because I can't remember where that was. I think it was Dallas, actually. But anyway, so Chris, start by telling, because I know who you are and I know a lot of people are, but this podcast will be sent everywhere. So just tell them a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, all that good stuff, please.
So Chris McGarey, originally from Scottsdale, Arizona, as you mentioned. I've been in commercial real estate since I left college in 1988. Did a little intern in Newport Beach, California for a few years, and that job was coming to an end, and there was nobody wanting to be in commercial real estate in 1990, at least in Southern California. But one guy picked me up. He'd been my, we didn't call it coach, but he'd been my coach and mentor, if you want to use that term, at Marcus and Millichap. And he said, hey, I just bought one of my own listings. It's a downtrodden, beat-up property in Vegas. If you'll move there for 6 months and help me, clean it up and turn it around, I'll bring you back to Orange County, and you can get back on track to doing your career. So I got here 32 years ago. Can you believe that? That 6 months turned into 32 years. So crazy. And so that project finished up in about 1993, and I was introduced to Mark Stark, who had just become the general manager for the original Americana family. And Mark said, we want to start property management, and he put me in the commercial division there on Paradise Road, March 1st of 1994. Mark, it took 6 months for us to go back and forth, spreadsheets. This is before the internet. This is before, Windows. This is DOS version. And so I finally turned in a report that he liked, and he gave me the best opportunity in my life. He gave me a desk. He took my real estate license. He bought my first box of cards and provided a huge platform. I was sharing this last week. I was on a panel, and I was saying, back then you had to go to 7-Eleven, buy a phone card. I said, because the company didn't
That's right.
Long distance. And so, so it's been a good run. Just past 30 years last March. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
32 years in Vegas, and 29 of those I've been, close to 29 of those I've been with this company.
With this company, that's incredible. So Mark, what was Mark has been with the company like for 34, 35 years. So you're not that far behind him.
But that's a compliment, I guess. He was the branch manager of Green Valley, and he moved over to Paradise. And my first appointment with him was in the Green Valley office. And then my, finalized Mark and Steve Schneider. I got to give Steve Schneider the plug because they created the vision, and they gave me a platform to succeed. So a little bit of correction on that math. I haven't been with the company. I've been with the company. My first was 10 years. Now I'm back 14. So 24 out of 32 years I've been with this company.
That's right. Okay. Yes. Yeah, and it's funny because it's like because you said that you met with Mark several times. So did I before I started with the company, and so did Diane Ray. So did a lot of people.
He's got an interview process like no other.
Yeah.
You got to prove yourself. No, I always give him credit. I give two people in my life credit, and a lot of people, but as far as my Vegas career, it's really Mark Stark and Aldo Martinez. Yeah, I got to give Aldo the shout out. Mark gave me the choice of which office we wanted to set up in. So I interviewed the managers. Sahara was too far from where I lived. Coronado was closer, but I really liked the feel and the look for commercial wise of the Southwest office. So that's been my home for 14 years. And I know my. It's not me. It's you know them very well. Josh Campa and Bojana Robbins. The three of us came over to the company in March of '94. So it's not just
94.
me.
I know Josh Camper must have been 18, maybe 20.
Actually, Josh, let's see. I'm sorry, not 94, 2009. My numbers are a little bit screwed up this morning. So 2009, we come back. Josh was, let's see, he'd been about 19. And he says, I want to start residential. I was always doing commercial, and he says, I'd like to do residential. And I said, think of it, 2009, residential property management. What better year to start? Maybe 2008. But we had already been doing a few of them at our other brokerage, that McGarey Partners, that we had started. And so he started with 3 houses when we started, and now he's up around 450 with the team.
Wow, that's a lot of doors to be managing too. So that's why you guys have such end up being in the top 5 for the last 14 years in the whole country for Berkshire Hathaway. That's pretty impressive, Chris.
Yeah. So if you like stats, our team's got 450 plus homes and 63 commercial buildings that comprises just under 3 million square feet of commercial property. What I like is that 63 owners and probably on average 300 tenants, whereas he's got 450 owners and 450 tenants. So you're dealing with 900 people versus, somewhere shorter than that on our team.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That is awesome. And you guys, I mean, when those people want to sell, you guys probably do a couple. You guys do you do a couple listings and sales during the year too, don't you?
You know what? I personally, in 32 years, have never sold a piece of real estate, nor would I really ever. I got to thank the people that give us these accounts. So our team, if we close 12 residential units or maybe more, I'd said it's probably 12 to 15 a year. All of our commissions are generally leasing and property management. Why would I compete with the people that are feeding me? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's one thing that's different about our team, especially in property management, is that the client comes to us by referral, and then we give it back to the referral agent. Not only do we give them back the client, but we give them back. We pay referral fees, very healthy referral fees.
Right. Good. So you've seen a lot of changes in Las Vegas in the last, 32 years, haven't you?
Yeah. So when I moved here, the only thing above 3 stories or 4 stories in terms of casinos was the Mirage. Think about that, right? I think Caesars might have had a tower, but nothing like you see today. Yeah, we've been very fortunate. During the late 90s and early 2000s, every time we saw a crane go up on the Strip, we knew we were going to have a pretty good year ahead. We measured our production by how many skyscrapers, because first, as Mark taught me, first they do is they come to buy a house. Once they get their house, then they look for their building for their business, or they look for a building to own. So when those skyscrapers are going up, we know it's going to be a pretty good year ahead.
Yeah, and now we have a football team, a hockey team first. Now we're getting the Oakland Athletics are going to move here. That's going to be great. And I bet you we'll have a basketball team. By the time the Athletics are here, I bet you we'll have a basketball team committed as well.
I think so. I mean, we had our commercial industry does a lot of, we eat a lot. There's a lot of lunches every month. and we had a sports panel at CCIM's last lunch. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I left Phoenix in 1988, and they had just gotten the Cardinals. And after the Cardinals was the Diamondbacks. They'd already had a basketball team, and then it just exploded. So it's we never thought that would be Vegas. Nobody thought Vegas, but we are all surprised by the growth. I think it really what the Knights did for this city has really helped us on our global image. We're not just this place where you go act like you're 17 again or 18 on spring break. This is a city to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and when I first moved here, it's funny you say that, because when I first moved here, I lived across from City Center at the Panorama, and I used to look over there and go, this is like a fake city, because all the downtown buildings, they're all casinos. But now, I've been here 12 years now. 12 years later, I'm like, this is a real city, and it's a great place to live. And I live in Summerlin, so like there's a strip, but I come to work over here, and it's like I don't even, unless I intentionally go there, it's like living anywhere else with great weather.
Yeah, no, I mean, I went to Disneyland maybe 3 times in the 4 years that I lived in Newport, even though I lived down the street in Costa Mesa, probably 12 miles.
Right.
You don't go there every day, right?
Right.
But when
Absolutely.
your client's coming down and they think, just come visit me, I'm at the Venetian, and you're like, why don't we meet off strip? It's just crazy down there.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you come?
One,
right.
the Formula One, and I mean, it's going to be. Buckle up. It's going to be a great couple, I would say probably 5, I don't know. I can't predict that, but I don't think we have any, other than the economy and other than the politics. I think we've got, Vegas is very strong for many years to come.
Well, think about if you had, when you started doing this 32 years ago, or, think about this. Even in the last 10 years, if you bought a couple of single family residentials, they've gone up 450% in the last decade in value. So it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. So I made the mistake. I had some sweat equity in that deal that brought me to Vegas. And they finally sold it in 2006. So that was a 14-year run with that property. And I got cash because I wasn't on title. And I was stupid. And I thought, this is never going to stop. We're never going to stop. So I bought a couple properties. I have a townhouse in the country club and 2 houses in Green Valley. And boy, did it stop. Came screeching halt in 2008, 2009. And,
right.
Happy to say that I still have 2 of those 3. Finally, they went up, then they went down, then they went up, and now they're slightly down. So real estate never stays down long, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, especially with the new, I think this is just my opinion. And if you had asked me this 5 years ago, it would have been totally different. But since the Great Depression, I don't want to drink us there, what you just mentioned, 2007, 8, the real estate market is different now. Lending is different. Builders are different. We're only building 25% as many homes. And the supply and demand issue is totally different than any other time in the history of real estate, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. You can't go finance a $500,000 house on a cocktail napkin anymore.
No,
you got to turn in. You got to turn in everything, and if you have any blip, it's come back when that blip's gone on your credit. No stated income. I love stated income. That was my favorite type of loan. Stated income. Stated income and good credit. You can get $1 million worth of real estate on a signature.
Yep. Well, and for the people that didn't abuse it, it would have been nice, but unfortunately, there was a whole bunch of people who did. And Vegas was perfect for it. And so, and where you used to live too, Phoenix, were 2 of the worst hit areas when that happened. And, but look at the rebound since, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's kind of, you bring that up. That's why I left Phoenix. I mean, my mom did residential in Scottsdale from 1972 until almost 2012, a few years before she passed. Long time, 70 years or 50 years. And, the ebb and tide. I knew that as a child. I knew escrows were good. That means we're going to Coronado for the summer if she has a lot of them. And Christmas presents are going to be overflowing. If she doesn't have a lot of closings and escrows, we got to tighten the belt. So I grew up in a real estate family.
Wow, it's been your whole life. Yeah, so you understand. You got to. So speaking of that, so now obviously you've been successful for many years. Let's get into some nuts and bolts here. If you had to break it down to the three most important things, what would you tell people? I mean, whether it's property management, commercial, residential sales, I mean, you still got to have a pipeline. You still got to be, talking to people. So what would you recommend? Top three things you tell them to focus on.
So, we had Rod mess with me. Rod, I can never pronounce his last name. Rod, I'm sure. In the commercial world, he's the pinnacle. So I took down some notes. He was part of the commercial sessions at the convention. And, he reminded me that having systems, relationships, and discipline and being focused was the key. I floated around I told you when I first got to Vegas was 92, and I didn't really get focused on what I wanted to do until 97. And I'd taken some seminar work, and all that's great if you use it. And I just really learned that to be super focused on what you want to do. Generalists generally fail, in my opinion, and based on my experience in commercial. I'm talking about commercial. If you specialize and people know what you do, and you have a game plan and systems in place, and granted, I don't do this 100% all the time. I wish I did. I'd be you wouldn't be talking to me. I'd be in the Bahamas right now. But, you live and learn. So it's really just to have systems. I used to think goals were voodoo, have goals, and then action plan. And when we take we have a very small team. I don't know if you're aware of that. We have 5 residential agents and 5 commercial agents. And we have 4 staff that are paid people. So the 10 of us are all commission based, and we do those numbers, and it's in property management on top of that. A lot of small checks to get there. But we're focused, and that's what we do. And most people, if you ask, what does the McGarey Kemper Group do? Oh, they're property management. And we've got some great property management teams in the company. Mario, it was fun remember back in the day, we were all on Pebble Road.
Yeah, that was great.
Mark it's kind of like putting 3 property management teams in the gladiator ring. Yeah, we were all there. But we all, Debbie Premack, Mario, myself.
Debbie Premack.
And our team. Yeah. We had and we're all different. And there's so many properties in this city that there's enough for everybody. So, that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it was funny because it was you 3 guys, property management, and then me teaching them how to sell and prospect. That was kind of a unique end of the spectrum. I was in that old Pebble building. It was cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
back on your question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Answer that question is to develop systems, begin your relationships. Get out of the office. Don't sit there on your computer. Develop relationships with people that can refer you business, and be disciplined about it.
Mm-hmm. Be disciplined about actually getting out there and doing it is what you're saying.
Correct. Now that's straight out of Rod's book, but it works. Why change it if it doesn't? He's got other things. But for me, if I had to pick only 3, it would be having goals, having relationships, and being disciplined about going after your goals.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And, it's the same whether you're in property management or you're in, residential sales or leasing commercially. You got to talk to people. This is why, because think about this. How many disruptors have there been in the real estate business since you and I have been doing this? A lot.
A lot. I started at the end of the S&L crisis. Right at the end of that is when I got into the business. And it was terrible.
Oh, yeah. You mean in the late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah. I mean, half of Phoenix was built, but nothing was I'm talking of commercial. Half of Phoenix, there's millions of square feet of commercial buildings in Phoenix that were empty. And and I was a leasing agent trying to recruit people, and it just was it was hard because the owners of the property couldn't afford commissions, and they couldn't afford tenant improvement allowances, and they couldn't afford a lot of things. And the tenants, the time was tough too. The tenants couldn't afford to move in on their own dime, so it was a lot of vacancy.
Right. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, and I remember since I've been in the business that we've had commission cutters, we've had open door offer pad, but the first one of all was the internet. And I don't know in the commercial business, but I remember them telling us, Chris, that I hope you enjoy your job because the internet's coming and people will be able to buy houses on the web and they won't need real estate agents anymore. Do you remember that in the mid-'90s when they started saying those things? Yep.
No, I was in the Paradise office at that time. I remember TJ was running Cat 4 or Cat 1 or the blue cords. He was running them above the ceiling tiles all throughout the building. And as I said, I had a IBM XT, which was a DOS type of computer with floppy disk. And he hooked me up and put Windows on my computer. I don't know how he did that, but it was amazing. Could you imagine if we didn't have the internet today?
Right. Yeah, and it's just been another tool to do a bunch of business because, and my point in bringing up the internet is they told us that we wouldn't be necessary because people would be able to buy or lease or rent, buy their cars. And the thing is that the reason why we're still here today is because of what you just said, the personal relationships. People want to hear your opinion. They want to ask you questions. They want to talk. Right? That's what it's all about, I think.
Absolutely. Most of our commercial clients, or most of our clients in general, are based in other states other than Nevada. And some of them are out of the country. And the first thing they always ask is, how's the market? What do you see? Kind of like the questions that you're asking. And you got to be ready to answer that. That's why there's so many sources of information. I couldn't imagine not having the internet and having commercial organizations that I can go to and get that information that somebody else has compiled. And, we just regurgitate everything people tell us anyway, right?
Right.
Unless you're doing the research yourself. But,
right.
your time is spent on other things once you have a few years in the business. I used to do all that research. We did it by hand. When I was living in Orange County, I did 2,500 properties by hand in the Inland Empire. I'd leave Newport every day and drive out to Riverside. And I know you've been on those freeways, so you can appreciate that. This is back when the 91 was only one lane in each direction, and the 15 was didn't have any. I think it was 2 lanes going back and forth to San Diego. So that's where I did. I just did research, and I go back to the office at night, look at microfiche. It was crazy what I had to do to find out. All I wanted to do was get who the owner is so that we can cold call on commercial buildings.
Right.
And now you can do that all with the touch of your phone.
I was going to say, now you can do that. Microfiche. Some people on this call probably don't even know what that is.
Right. We had the reels and we had the microfiche. You'd go to the map. We had these big maps that look like building plans, only to get the APN number. Then once you got the APN number, you go to the microfiche box and look up who the owner is. Then you go to another box to see where the owner is, and then it comes up to an LLC, and you're like, oh my God, now I got to do more work. You call the title company. It's we did a lot of work, and that was back in the day.
Just to find out who to call.
The best thing was that film would be developed in 24 hours back then. That was the best,
right?
Because we took pictures, 4x6 pictures. It's a lot of manual work, and but you know what? If you didn't do that, you wouldn't know how to do it. I know that sounds silly, but that's still to this day. I tell our people, get off your computer, get out and drive the property, talk to the tenants, see who owns the building. The tenants will tell you who owns the building because they either like them or they don't like the owner. And they'll tell you all the good stuff. And then you get the owner on the phone and you say, I drove by your property. I stopped in the coffee shop and I'd like to see if you'd be interested in hearing about Berkshire Hathaway. Boom. There you go. And then you set the appointment. We close.
You're off and running.
First appointments. Yeah. And you just do it over and over again.
I'm driving to Phoenix. I'm going through Prescott to see Rachel and then over into Scottsdale on my little Arizona tour for this, for training. And I'm driving this time because I'm taking the awards from the event, and rather than ship them all since I'm going to be going. So I had to take an Uber in because I'm taking a rental car. And as soon as I get in, she's like, she sees where she's taking me. She goes, are you in real estate? Yes. What do you think of the market? Right? There it is. Yeah, what do you think of the market? Yeah. Boom. We had a 15-minute conversation. Yeah. I have her phone number, and I've already handed it out to somebody. One of my call right before this, I handed it out to an agent to call her and get her in and explain why now is the best time to buy real estate, because she asked me the question, well, if you could buy right now, would you? I go, yes, I would do it right now. right now.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to get worse. Even Dave Ramsey, Mr. Cost-Cutting, you know who Dave Ramsey is, right? Even he's saying, buy the house with his Texas accent. Buy the house. So I would. It's definitely a good time to buy.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head. Every time you're engaged, I mean, especially in what we do in commercial, and some people find me, it's like, what are you interviewing these people? I mean, I'll go into a coffee shop. Maybe it's not Starbucks, it's like a mom and pop type shop, and I'll just start talking to them. Who's the owner? How long have you been here? Out there, you looking for other sites? Every time in commercial, every time you're in a storefront or an office building, you could be grilling them to find out whether they want to buy a building, lease a building, or they want to sell their building, or they need management, which is what we do.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned I had like 4. I covered 9 little towns, but I had like 4 of them, and I would go down. They would actually sell you the complete set of tax maps of the city, this gigantic book, right, that you would open up, and I used to go through them, and you could crisscross reference it to the owner, and that's how I would find my land to do new construction. I would call them all. I had them all in my computer eventually, right? But that was, like just like you do with your microfiche, and now you have them probably just right in the database in your computer, right?
Yeah, there's so many good databases and CRMs out there in the commercial, but I still like to touch and look and feel. Like you said, did you have the crisscross directory as well? We had the crisscross directory to get phone numbers. It's just crazy with the amount of work we had to do. So I did all along the 10 freeway, which I know you're on all the time, from San Bernardino all the way over to West Covina. And then I did Diamond Bar and basically all of Orange County, some of East LA County, and some of northern San Diego County. I loved it. I was 23 years old. I had a junker of a car, but I just I didn't have anybody telling me what to do all day long. As long as I turned in my reports and set appointments for the brokers, I got paid, and I got paid very well plus bonus. And so that's kind of why we do what we do, right? If you're in real estate, you want to be your own boss. And Mark,
be your own boss.
They provided a huge platform for that. If that's, you got to be disciplined, but you have your own company within a company.
Yes, and that's the key right there. The company within the company, and you're self-employed. You get to. That's why you have to do actions that cause you to get paid every day. Otherwise, you're not getting paid.
Correct.
Yep. All right, Chris. Well, hey, perfect. We've been 30 minutes. I know you're a busy guy. You got stuff going on. I just want to say thank you very much, Chris, for taking your time out today. Ladies and gentlemen, send your referrals. Chris McGarey over at the Southwest office, McGarey Tampa team. And I really appreciate your time today, Chris. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, everybody.